Hey everybody, I'm S.A. Baz Collins here for this week's Written on the Edge, Season 11, Episode 6, Interview. We'll be getting to know our author, Rodney Rhoda Taylor, better and talking about their recent release, A Life in Letters, A Story of Resilience, Sequins, and Hope. Gotta love that combination. So let's welcome our guests. Inspired by Carrie Bradshaw, Rodney Rhoda Taylor returned to school to pursue writing and eventually graduated with a degree in creative writing from San Francisco State University, my daughter's alum. So unsure of what to do after graduating. After all, who does know what to do with their degree? They meandered about writing their writing career aimlessly for the first year until a friend suggested they join a writing group. I have questions about that. That focused primarily on plays. Their writing career soon took off. They soon found themselves writing, producing, directing, and acting in plays. They are the author of the short plays Eros, Poolside, Goodbye Cupid, My Fairy Godmother, Baby Christina, Motherly Advice, and P.S. I Love You. Their playwriting eventually led them to co found the Left Coast Theater Company, an LGBTQ theater in San Francisco. I know it because I used to live there with Joe Frank. After taking a break from writing for a few years to focus on themselves, they resumed their writing career with the publication of their first book, a memoir, A Life in Letters, A Story of Resilience, Sequence, and Hope. They presently reside in the South with their little chihuahua, Isabele, hoping one day Cupid will still pay them a visit, hopefully after they visited the optometrist. Rodney, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
There was a lot to unpack in that bio, girl.
I could have made it shorter. Sorry.
So for those who are just getting to know you here on Rote, why don't you tell our listeners and viewers how you got started in writing? What was the impetus? What sparked that whole thing? When did the muse come by and whack you on the head like Carol? What was her name? The one who played the fairy in uh, Scrooged? Carol Kane. Carol Kane just whacks you and said, "Bitch, start writing."
Start writing. It actually started on a whim. I was living in Southern California, so I'm like, you know what? I need something to do at night. So I took a writing class, and I'm like, well, you know what? This is kind of fun. Then when I moved back to San Francisco, I'm like, okay, let's start pursuing this a little bit more. So, I had no intention of writing plays or memoir when I just started. I'm like, you know what? I need something to do. Let's finish getting our degree. So I went to state, got my degree in writing, and then it kind of morphed from there, like most things in my life. I don't ever plan it. It just ends up happening. I'm like, you know what? This is kind of fun. So
I think a lot of us gay men live life serendipitously. You know what I mean? Just the luck of the draw. You're there at the right time, sometimes the wrong time, but
yes.
and sometimes that's more than usually the other way around. So I really understand that falling into it. That's literally how it happened for me too. So I totally get you there. Now I have a question. The reason why I brought up about the writing group, how was your experience in finding a writing group, and how long did it take you to find the right one? Because, girl, I have a story on mine.
Well, again, I fell into it. I had, got my degree, and then I'm like, okay, cool. What am I going to do? And I was on a softball team in San Francisco. Yes, I did play softball. Um, and then a
Emphasis
friend
on
of mine,
soft,
yes, well, some of those guys did have hard bodies, but
but we digress.
yeah, definitely would go down a tangent on that one. But anyways, um, so a friend of mine who was on the softball team came across this gay writing group. So he's like, here, why don't you join it? Because it was playwriting. So I joined it. Then after the first year, the guy was like, here, why don't you do it? So he pretty much just handed it to me because the whole idea was to have the writing group, to encourage people to write, to do the plays. So I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I was like, yes, give me control because I like that. So then it went from there to just doing it. And everyone was overall really nice, very supportive, constantly offering suggestions and challenging. Like, okay, no, you've already wrote this 15 times. You need to change it. There's no conflict. There's no, I don't feel the pull. So change it. So I actually had fun.
Well, there you go. Again, can't complain about that. The reason why I bring up the whole writing group kind of thing is because one, I had the weirdest experience with that. I was living in, I'm now down in San Diego, which is where I was born and reared, but I lived in San Francisco for a good number of years. In fact, I met my husband of 30 plus years. The reason why I'm pointing over there is I record this in my bedroom and my husband's literally right there.
Oh,
Um,
hi, husband.
but I met him up in the Bay Area when I moved there, and uh, he suggested that because I really like telling stories and stuff. My dad was a really good storyteller. I'm half native, and so it's kind of in the blood. That's what we do. And so I thought I should start writing down some of the ideas I've had. And my husband said, "Well, why don't you join a writers group?" And so I thought, well, I'm in the Bay Area. I mean, if I'm writing queer stories, who's gonna fucking care? It's the Bay Area. By the way, should I be cussing on this?
That's up to you. I don't care. I'm not offended.
Okay. Sometimes people want a clean episode. I should have cleared that with you earlier. But
No.
anyways, no, but the funny thing is that you would think, and this is why I asked you the question, you would think that in the Bay Area with a writers group, you would get a mix of like people across the sexual spectrum. It wouldn't be a big deal because you're in the Bay Area. And having gone there yourself, you know what I'm talking about. Girl, can I tell you, when I wrote my story about my little gay teenage boy, I had never had so much pushback from writers who thought they knew what gay men were about. I'm like, what?
But no, just because you live here doesn't mean you know about gay people.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I don't know if that was on more on me than it was on them, but they kept saying my gay boy was too glib, too. I'm like, have you been around gay kids before? like, I'm like, girl, that's all we have. We don't get to date during our teenage years.
No,
Believe me, we hone that craft right really early.
we have to.
Yeah. So that's why I was asking, when you fell into it. I mean, many writers, aspiring writers, don't understand that finding a writing group is a challenge in and of itself because you may end up with a bunch of people who really don't get you or your writings, and it's a fit you have to find. And some people go to their first writing room and go, "Oh well, this is what I'm stuck with," but it's not that. I mean, don't you think?
Search, 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 search for the right group that's for the right fit. That was one of the things when I was in college that my one of my professors said. The important thing is to do is to find and start your community.
Mhm.
So that's basically what your writing group is. It is your community of people who are there to support you. And like I said, right fit, who are not going to criticize. They're like, no, no, this is not what it's about. You're like, yeah, it is. So I know my
My
stuff,
story.
folks. Yeah.
They can sometimes get a god complex and think that no, that's not the way it goes. Excuse you?
My thoughts, my feelings. I know what this is about. So stay in your lane.
All right. So what prompted you to write a life in letters in the way that you've done it?
Well,
Why
that
letters?
is a fun, not a fun story, but it is a fun story. So when I was in college getting my degree, it was like the last term, and they offered a class on writing letters. I'm like, this sounds fun because people don't write letters anymore. It's a text. Be there in 2 seconds. That's doesn't tell you anything other than you'll be there in 2 seconds. So, I took the class, thought it was fun, and then at the end of it, I'm like, you know what? What if there was a book of letters written to the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we all share? I'm like, okay, cool. So I started it. Then I started the theater company, and that like didn't have anything to do for quite some time. Then I was in Reno, bored. I'm like, I need a project to work on. So I actually started working on a cookbook because I taught myself how to cook during COVID. Like, let's just throw all of these things together. And then I was like searching through my writing. I'm like, oh, here's this thing again. I'm like, let's look into this. So I started, looking at the letters again, expanding it, had it done. And then I'm all, oh, it just wasn't connecting because it was just a collection of letters, very generic letters. You know what? It needs more of a personal touch. So I changed it to my own personal letters to all of those thoughts, feelings, and stuff. So I'm like, okay. Then it just went on from there to the whole collection of, you know what, let's do the teens, let's do preteens, let's do the letters to Santa Claus and see what those are like. Then it just turned into a natural progression of dividing my life up into the different sections.
Hmm,
So
interesting. So it's almost kind of like, I don't know, would you describe it as sort of essayist form like David Sedaris does, or
I'm a big fan of his. So I've read his books and I'm like, yes, that is something I would like to aspire to do. To write letters like that. And that's kind of what the next book is going to be about. But yeah, it was just a different way of writing them. And I felt like it was a little bit more of a, I was able to connect to the subject better by writing the letters because it didn't start out to be about me. It was just very generic, boring stuff. Then I'm okay, I'm not connecting to these letters. So I switched it to being a lot more personal. And a lot of the letters are very personal. So
hmm. Oh, that no, and often makes, and I think a lot of people who think, oh, maybe I should write my story, and then they go get imposter syndrome and think, oh, nobody's going to want to read it, but that really isn't the case. Have you found that to be true?
when I started writing my without this form, I did. I'm just like, no one's gonna want to read about me. No one's gonna, I'm gonna say this, but I don't literally mean it. I'm a nobody in the world of, popularity and stuff like that. No one's gonna want to care about this. But during the editing process, a friend was reading it and she's just like, this is important because other people might be feeling the same stuff,
Mm-hmm.
going through the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. So this is important to finish because it will connect with people.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, fine. So because of that, I continued writing it. Um,
And I think that that's something that I think people need to understand. The reason why stories mean so much to everybody is because we want that connectivity, even if it's via a written book, because at least you're getting something that can resonate with you and say, nope, you're not alone. This is happening to me too, kind of thing. So I think what, excuse me, what the point is here for us is that really it's write the story and let and release it into the world and let people, when I wrote my little stupid, I don't say stupid, but yeah, when I wrote my little story about two kids in high school, I never in a million years would have realized that somebody in an oppressed country in Africa would write me about my book and say that it was the solace they needed where they were in this oppressed country now. And I'm like, who the hell would have thought that it would have happened? So you never know. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then you have stories that from our community that touch on so many things that percolate under the mainstream's observance of our community. But it's really, and we've had other people who have done their own memoir who seemingly are a nobody, but you find out the stories that they can tell. It's not like I say, life writes some of the best stories ever put out there, but we just don't know of them. And so when you wrote this book, how much of it is really based on your real experiences, or did you embellish or play with it?
I want to say it's kind of a combination of all of those,
Mhm.
but most of them are it happened to me. Um, the letters to Santa Claus, I did my research. I went back. I'm like, yes, those are toys I wanted that were there during that time period. Then all of the events in puberty, those did happen. And then the first time I saw drag queens on stage, it was the glitz, the glamour. Oh my God, this is fabulous. And then the whole battle with depression is yeah, that was a tough one to get through. So they're all based on very true elements that actually did happen to me in life. Um, embellish them, no. Um, but yeah, there some of them are very tough
Well,
to do.
and those that are, that have that trauma as the threads of that story you're weaving or that part of the book, um, I see because it's in the title that hope is always a part of that resilient factor. And I think queer humor for us gays really can play an important factor in it, don't you think? And how did you use that in the book? How did you figure out how to lighten it so that even the darker things were more digestible for readers?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's kind of an organic situation,
Mm,
reading it back through, it's like, okay, need to change the tone, need to lighten it up here. Because yeah, Fate was a very difficult book or letter to write. And the toughest ones to write were the ones to death and grieving. So yeah, still hits no matter what. Still hits. And those are always the tough ones to do, but it's just like writing grief kind of like lighten it up a little bit.
hmm
It's like, okay, a little bit too much. So let's just lighten it up here and throw in a joke because even in the hardest moments, you can still find light, still find the joke.
hmm
Um, to lighten the mood. It's like, okay, we get it. Enough.
Yeah,
Let's bring humor into it. Let's bring the old gay sarcasm back into the situation
right.
because you're getting too heavy. So yeah, it was just I kind of had to tell myself that as well.
And
So
and I think it's funny because as writers, when we get into the thick of it, we sometimes are so focused on making sure we get the details right, the ambiance, the feeling, the especially in a memoir, the essence of the moment kind of thing, that it's almost like I think well, I've always said for gay men who are writers that Agnes Moorehead's Endora is our muse and she likes to fuck with us.
yes,
you know So, and I think most gay men get it when I say that. They're like, "Oh
we
yeah,
do, we do.
she's around. The girl be hanging up there." But I think that we often, in trying to evoke that essence of the moment, you kind of also have to realize, well, how did I deal with it? How did I deal with all of that darkness? And sometimes, it is our ability to laugh at the scenario and say, "Oh my God, girl, take a chill pill. You're going to get through this."
Yeah. So the way to get out of that, just when you're saying that, I'm like, okay, the scene from Still Magnolias
Mm.
towards the end with Sally Field. Like, okay, that is the best way to get out of it when your friends do that. So yeah, writing that, I'm like, okay, just remember that scene from that movie. It's like you're bawling your head off. And then they did that and you're laughing immediately. So it's like, okay, it is okay to throw the humor into the sad moments just to get out of it. So yeah, that scene honestly did help out a lot as well. And I'm just like writing, I'm like, okay, remember this, we can get out of there. So
And I think that's kind of, and I've seen a couple of plays by that playwright, and I can't think of his name now off the top of my head. But he was a gay man who wrote all of these incredible stories about these Southern women that he grew up with, and kind of developed into these characters in his plays. But I often, when I saw Still Magnolias for the first time, and I forget the other one I saw. There was another one he did where it was a bunch of women who got together after a long period of being apart. I can't remember the name of the play, but it was really well done. And um, what I loved about it is that as gay men, you can feel the thread of that queer factor of these gay men telling these stories about these women who go through these kinds of things because to a great degree a lot of what we feel in those kinds of situations, we get it, which was, why Golden Girls was a big hit, which is why, you have all of those things. And as you said with Carrie Bradshaw and, Sex in the City, you have all of those elements that come from queer voices that know how to spin the story so that it's accessible to the many. You look at Heated Rivalry right now. You have an essence of where you have a story that should not be that big in the mainstream, but if it's told right and it's produced right and it's staged right, then it really does resonate. And just to see how many straight men have watched Heated Rivalry and have connected with the men in those stories. It's you really, as a writer yourself, don't you think that that's kind of one of the reasons why I think as gay men we're more of a bridge to kind of make mainstream society understand us better, even though we're telling our stories to our community and the people around us. But do you think that there's a factor in it that maybe goes unnoticed by we queer writers, that there is a bridging that occurs when our stories connect to mainstream audiences?
Yeah, but they don't realize it. It's our way of making us, we're not the enemy. We have the same thoughts and feelings that everyone else does. So it
Mm,
humanizes us a little bit more. And then people are like, oh, well, they're not the enemy that Christians tell us that they are, or that we've always been led to believe are the bad people and stuff like that. No, we cry, we laugh, we are sarcastic because you've made us be sarcastic people. And this is how we deal with
yeah,
all
that's
the
how we
hatred and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely.
Sarcasm is our way of dealing with your guys' negativity. But here's our story, here's our life. So yes, please take it. And if you eat it up and it becomes more popular, that's great because it once again makes us more human. So
And it's,
hopefully,
yeah, it's interesting too, because I'm looking at the crux of how you built this and how you do, with the inner monologue of writing the letters to yourself. And there is that whole thing, you can go on YouTube, letters to yourself, your younger self. What advice would you give? But I think I think the thing that is what connects people into these stories is the fact that when you burn away all of the excess, the things that are the window dressing, at the core it's still a human experience, and at some level somebody's going to see something in it, that makes people connect to it. I did watch a really great essayist, and I'll put the link up here somewhere, that um, she did a really good expose about why straight men watch Heated Rivalry and where it came from. And it was a very interesting connection, because she thinks the reason it clicked was all of these straight men could identify with it because it took place in a gym, it took place in sports, it took place in a place that was very familiar to them. And therefore, they were allowed to put their guard down because they had been in those environments. That feels very familiar to them. So as queer writers, it's almost like that's kind of a beacon that, okay, this is how we can make things. And I know your story is not fictional, but it's a way that you can see the things you are writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, that to make it connecting, you just have to remember the core elements of your story. What is it I'm trying to impart here? And stick to it. And then you put the window dressing on, gussy it up the way you want to. But do you find that process, especially in writing a memoir? Because I know, well, like I said, I've had a lot of writers on here who do fiction, but they've thought about doing memoirs. So, what advice would you give as a memoirist to tell people, this is how I approached it? This was my drive. And how did it get tough, when it got tough and you couldn't get to the points where you were struggling with trying to get it all down? How did you work your way through that?
a lot to unpack in that question.
Sorry.
And um, no,
I'll
that's
let you
fine.
talk now.
Just do it. Yeah, okay, thanks. Um, that's a kind of a tough one. Just do it. It's just like, you throw it, word throw up, put it on paper. Just do it. Get the feelings out there and then go back and edit them, fine tune it a little bit because when I wrote this, some of those letters were like 3 pages long,
Mm,
you know, and now they're down to a book size one and a half. So I'm like, no one's going to be interested in a 3 page letter because it was a lot of extra words. So I'm like, no, let's fine tune it because you can always fine tune it and get your message across after you've, done it. You've had people read it, then fine tune it. In regards to what to put in, what to take out, put it all in. You don't know what will connect with somebody until they actually read it. So, the hatred as a kid of getting that from everybody else. A lot of people have said that they've connected with that because they're like, I went through the same thing. I felt that. So it's nice to know that I wasn't alone, that there were other people feeling the exact same thing. So, throw it out there. And the stuff that got a little bit difficult, um, do what feels comfortable. So it's like the one thing that's, the letter to fate. I just didn't want to expand too much on what happened at the end of that, but it's like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And then this is the end. This is the PS section of this letter. By the way, this happened. So it's just like I wanted that more of it to be a heavy anvil for the audience to like, oh, okay. Have them sit and deal with that themselves. And then the letters to death and grief. Those are, it was more of a way of saying, we all go through this. This is how I'm dealing with it. And this is how I was able to look at it in a different light to lighten it up. And in the end, I'm like hoping that someone else can read that too. I'm like, if they're going through the same thing, to use that to help them through it. It's not to be feared, but more of the lines to welcome it, to walk right into it and go, okay, it's not all negative, it's not all bad. Grief it helps us with every aspect of life. So along those lines.
It's really good food for thought. And I think you go
Didn't
ahead.
mean to go there.
No, 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 no. That's great. I think there, like I
Uh,
said, we've had a lot, and over all the years we've been doing this, we've had a lot of authors who've told us offline, while either post show or pre show, who have commented that sometimes the people who write memoirs are some of the most interesting from their perspective as a fellow writer, because they've often thought, well, will my story matter? Well, even though they write fiction stories, and they're very very much that's their passion, but sometimes they think, well, I did go through a lot of this stuff, and will it connect? But because as an author, even if you write fiction, you're always trying to figure out, okay, is this a story worth telling? Um, and so I think that one of the things that I think authors, especially aspiring authors who have not published yet, who are working on something, they need to give themselves permission to actually step into the light and tell their story and trust that there will be people that it resonates with. Don't you think?
oh yeah, you have to do it. Again, it just goes back to maybe it will connect with somebody. So the important thing is to write it because maybe your story will connect with somebody. Maybe it will help them try to figure something out in their own life. Um, and that's the important thing is the connection. Like I said, my friend said, do it because maybe someone will help. It'll help someone along to the next step. And I've heard from other people that yes, it did. One of my coworkers is reading it and she's, I'm going to give this to my child because they're kind of going through the same thing.
Mm,
So it's like, don't be afraid to put it on paper. There was all the things that are in the book. The one thing that I was the most conscious about putting in there was one of the levers to puberty and the dreams that we all have as boys.
mm-hmm,
That dream, writing that whole little sequence was like, do I really want to put this? To me, that was like, I felt like that was way too much information. But that helped me decide that, oh yeah, I was gay. So that I did have these feelings for guys. But yeah, of all the letters, everything that's in that book, that one little letter was like the hardest because I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of embarrassing. But I'm like, you know what? Who cares? So I'm like, feel embarrassing, but just do it.
and I also think that as gay men, because we often, especially those of us of a more refined generation,
Hmm.
we didn't have the ability to date and do all of the social things that our counterparts, our straight counterparts, did. Um, and I think and that's one of the reasons why divas are such a big thing for gay men, because we could empathize with their lovelorn songs about the man in their life, or because it was things we were aspiring to even experience. And I think that when you write, especially something that comes from your going through puberty and climbing up in your teenage years when you're learning to be social on a much more um, permanent level, though, how you'll interact with people going forward, that I think that we often I we had one guy on here who did kind of a memoir, but it was tied to divas, and which is a
Ooh.
really interesting way to look at it, and it really kind of made the whole thing very personable because it's like when they named a diva that they followed and they just were a huge fangirl over that they, and I use Gorl as Gorl, but you know they they had the moment they identified them, you instantly knew as a gay man, oh, I get why you're doing this. I get why that particular diva rang true for you. I get, you know, it was almost like, you know, they said Alanis Morissette, you knew what that was from. You know, you had all of these different things that clicked from a pop culture reference because as young gay boys, that's all we had to hold on to, you know, which is why it was so important to us, you know, why the Oscars are our, you know, Super Bowl and all of those things, because those were the things we held on to in our teens and we really never really let go of them. We kind of have them for the rest of our lives, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I still have my divas from, you know, my main diva was Elizabeth Taylor and Madonna, because when I was coming out, Madonna was kind of at her peak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started impersonating Madonna, was when she was at her peak and stuff. So I did that in Portland. So, don't really hold on to Madonna that much these days because she's not the same Madonna, and her
No.
face is like way too full of Botox and stuff. But like the other main divas, yeah, it's like they were there, they experienced everything, and they're gorgeous. Their beauty and their strength
Mm.
is for me what
And their
I still,
resilience.
yes, like Elizabeth Taylor, no matter what. Maybe she was a little bit of a drama queen, but still, she grew up in the spotlight and everything she did was constantly reported on. So, but she still went through, you know, she plowed everybody out of the way and she became the diva that she was, rightfully so. So they were kind of like an example for us little boys growing up in small redneck towns
Mm-hmm.
of, oh my God, the glamour, the beauty. If you can do it, I can do it as well. So, yeah, I've got my divas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We all do.
I have my divas all over my office. I like put up pictures of all of the divas that I have liked. So I've got Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Angelina Jolie, all on the wall around me. So
We had a collection in our group that we were the S&Ms, the Streisand Middlers,
yes,
the S&M queens.
I'm one of those too. It's just like Bette Midler Beaches came out when I
Uh-huh.
was, just coming out of the closet. I remember watching that movie, bawling my head off. So it's like every year, it sounds sad, but every year at Valentine's Day, I watch Beaches.
Oh, that's a really lovely idea. I never thought of doing that. That's
Because
a
it's just
great
like,
idea.
I'm still single. I can watch this, bawl my head off. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. But yeah, Barbara Streisand as well. It's just like,
The best thing I have about beaches is me and my bestie, my gay bestie, who I have known since he was 16 and I was 18, which is, you know, like 3 years ago. Anyways,
of course.
you know, we went and saw beaches, but we went to a theater that was nearby where we were living, and it was primarily in a black neighborhood, which, you know, I have no problem. I grew up around black people. So, you know, I not a big, you know, I was in the community. My parents sang in a gospel choir. I was in the
Oh,
community.
yeah.
But, you know, my gay bestie and me, and, you know, I'm as light skinned as I am, even though I'm native and, you know, because we're Northeastern woodland natives. So we're not in the sun all the time. But, you know, so you know, here I am, you know, and then my bestie is about the whitest guy you could ever find on the planet.
Of
He ended up becoming a drag queen, so you know, this was back
course.
when, you know, it came out. We went and watched it in this theater packed with black people in the middle of it, and we were watching this movie, and we are bawling. These two little gay boys, in this theater.
Oh,
Now, if that isn't a story worth telling,
Yeah, I know. It's just like it's a sad movie. You have
you
to. Oh
have
yeah,
to.
I was a mess. I was a mess, and I think we went to see it like 3 or 4 times, and every single time I was still a mess. And even to this day, it still gets to that point, and I'm all, oh,
And it's weird
yeah,
because, I was very much the Bette Midler of the two of us, and he was very much the Barbara Hershey. So it was just like, oh, we're watching ourselves.
yeah. My friend and I at the time, it is still that way because I impersonated Madonna, so I was the one with the spotlight on it and stuff like that, and he was pushing all the do this, do that. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and yeah, wind beneath my wings. It's just like he's gonna hate me, and I'm probably gonna get a nasty email after he sees this, but still, um,
Well, you got a week. You can get out of the country.
yeah. I love you.
Oh, yeah. Love that. All right. Well, is there anything about your memoir that I failed not asking that you would like people to know about
Oh, I don't, blah, blah, blah.
it?
If I could speak, no, I think we covered a lot. I mean, it is, I think it's a great book. It touches people. I've heard lots of great, reviews, people saying it's very touching and, um, they were able to connect to it because it brings up all those things that we don't talk about so openly about depression
Mm,
and coming out of the closet and what it
mm.
feels like to be the only one in a community,
The only
in
gay in
your
the
neighborhood.
village.
Yeah, I grew up in a small redneck little town where I was the only one. Talk about barely surviving that. And people have read it, they're just like, we're sorry we put you through that. We're sorry that we were that evil to you and stuff. Now, if my high school crush would like read it and like come around, that would be great. His wife may not like that, but not my problem. Um, so yeah, I would say yeah, pick it up, read it, connect to it, share it with other people. It's a great way of allowing young gay inquisitive individuals because you don't know when you're like 16, you're experiencing all these feelings and emotions and those dreams that are like, hey, we kind of like this type of thing. But it's okay. You're not the only person that is going through all of these things.
And I want to get your because we have the drag element here. I just want to ask this as a drag artist. What was your whole thought process as you watched all this bullshit about drag queen story time? What I mean, because like for me, I was the whole moment it blew up, I'm like, bitch, none of these kids are thinking this. They just see glitter and glamour, and it's like you could have a clown in their reading. It'd be this, they just see color, they see spectacle. That's all they care about.
Yeah, they don't know that it's a person who is dressed up in very beautiful big hair and jewelry, and they're entertaining them.
Right.
All a parent has to say is, this is the person who's reading you a book. You don't have to, well, it's a guy dressed as a girl, then we have to. No, it's a kid who is 5 years old who doesn't really care.
Yeah,
Just
right. They
let,
want to know the story
yeah.
that you're going to
Oh,
read
I
them.
wanted the story. Oh my God, you look pretty. Oh my God, you're beautiful.
Yeah,
Okay. Worry
exactly.
about them. Don't even worry about it. If your child wants to become a drag queen when they're 18, let them. But still, there's them read a book.
Yeah, I know.
It's a
It's like
book.
I'm like you're encouraging them to read, and from what I hear, Gen Alpha is not reading very well at this point. So it's like anything we can do to push them along, I think is a good idea. You know.
Yeah, it's a book. It's a beautiful person who is being themselves, entertaining. It's all entertaining, and that is what people should
Right.
focus
And
on.
it wasn't like they were being paid to do it either. They were doing it of their own, just wanting to give back to the community in the way they knew how. And I'm like, girl, this is so much more about you than it is about the kids and the drag queen. What's going on
What
here?
drag queens, yeah, what drag queens do, they give back to the community from the dawn of drag
Yeah.
queenism.
Yeah.
Just made that word up. Give back to the community, and that's just another way of them giving. So
Yeah.
let them be.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just had to get your position on it because the whole time I'm like sitting there going, what the hell is wrong with you people? I'm like, do you not have enough to drink in the day? What's going on?
They don't.
Obviously. All right. Well, are you getting ready for our get to know you questions?
Go for it.
Okay, okay. Before we get to that, though, I just want to take a moment to say if you like what we're doing here and having sitting down with the girls and having a nice little conversation, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the things that, social media demands of us. And then if you want to support us, because there are costs involved in running this show, that you can go to patreon.com/rope podcast and do a monthly donation. We also have reactions to queer media where I am taking a fellow writer and contributor on our show, Albert, who lives in Mexico, through the wonderful what he calls the pantheon of queer media, and he's learning about all kinds of stuff in queerdom that he had no idea about. Being his little gay boy self down in the middle of Mexico, and so it's quite the fascinating ride with him. So there are episodes up there you can buy individually, or you can subscribe on a monthly basis and get them available to you as we record them and release them. You can also go to and do a one-time donation at buymeacoffee.com/podcast, or you can join our memberships here on YouTube by clicking the little join button down below for only 99 cents a month. That's right, just less than $1. You can get access to the same reactions in a watch along format. We kind of poke in 1 minute and the beginning, middle, and end of what we're watching so you can sync up your copy to what we're watching and you can hear our reactions to the actual media that we're watching. So that's 3 ways you can support us. And with all of that said, now let's get to know our guests a little deeper. So, what book, film, or piece of art has had the biggest influence on your writing style?
No. Um, I would have to say Madonna's Truth or Dare.
Mm, very, very good choice.
Simply because, you know, she put herself out there. She did the whole behind the scenes of everything that was going on during that tour, which was her best tour and of everything that she's done. Just putting it out there, because I was impersonating her at the time that that came out. So the boldness, the brassiness, the just do it, put it out there for people. Definitely, when I wrote this book, was just put it out there, let people absorb it, go with it, yeah, absorb it and
Mm.
figure out what they're gonna do with it after that. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Well, what fictional or historical character would you invite to march with you at a pride parade?
Um, okay, with that one, then first thought would be Marilyn Monroe, so that she knows how loved she actually ended up being. Um, and then these aren't fictional people, but I would have to say those who unfortunately died because they were gay. So then, join us and you can see what actually happened.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I
So
love that a
I
lot.
know it's a little bit on the deep side, but I really thought about that. And I'm like, you know what? Let them
Yeah.
know that we've
Well,
come a long way.
yeah, I
So
mean, along the same line, I thought when I saw this question when Vance was putting this list together for this year's guests, the first people I thought of was Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Ribeiro. I'm like, I would love to go to a pride parade with those two because I just think it would be really, really invigorating to hear from our queer ancestors who were literally at the forefront fighting for
yeah.
this stuff. So, okay, if you or your protagonist had to survive a gay bar karaoke night, what song would you or they belt out?
Oh, it would have to be a country song, which
Oh,
is
okay,
all
okay.
things country. I've found this new radio station on Spotify that it's very soulful country and it's like very deep tone and it's like an only sing a deep tone song. Um, but on believe it or not, they've turned some of Michael Jackson's songs into country and they are great. So it would have to be either Beat It or Billie Jean. And Billie Jean is a country song, totally takes on a completely different tone.
I
I'm
bet.
like, okay. Now, if I can find a country version of Vogue, I would be,
Over the moon.
I would be over the moon. It's just like, okay, cool. Now can I do the whole dance to Vogue still? So,
You'd have to do a Dolly Parton impersonation of that one.
yes, don't get me started.
All right. Well, let's see. What's a place, real or imagined, that feels like home to you, and why?
Italy and England, but I would first go to Italy and Venice because of the history. It is so
Mm,
gorgeous over there. There's so much stuff that happened behind it. And the canals. It's just a very gorgeous, peaceful place to be. We went there for a very important birthday with, a group of friends, and I'm not going to say how old I am then or now, but it was a very important one. And I just fell in love with it.
yeah.
Like Italy is just so peaceful, and it's the only place that I can actually drink wine because I'm allergic to wine. But Italian wine in Italy, I can drink without having any asthma problems. So,
Well,
oops.
there you go. There you go. All right. Well, what's the strangest or most unexpected place that you've ever found inspiration for a work of yours?
Um, on a plane, flying, I think it was from Palm Springs to Denver because that was a layover, and I had nothing to write with. I'm like, okay, cool. If I can I remember this thought, and it's just like by the time I got there, it's just like no, because I didn't have a computer. So thoughts always come to me when I have nowhere to write them down,
Let's see what
or
you
like
do
right
then.
before, yeah.
What you do then as a pen, napkin.
Stuart is like, sir, you need to come down. I'm like, no, I have this thought. You need to let me get this out. Sir, calm down, lady. Leave
Girl.
me alone. So yeah, they always come when you like don't expect them.
I
I'm like ready to
know.
fall asleep. I'm like, I'll remember this in the morning, and I'm all this great thought last night. And I have no idea what it was.
All right. Okay. Well, which themes or motifs do you find yourself returning to again and again in your work?
Again, it's gonna be on the deep side, so it's always gonna be self-help, be yourself. Because I fought, 'cause, growing up as a small kid in a redneck town, they tell you not to be yourself.
Right.
And
Right.
nowadays I'm like, it's good. I'm going to be myself. So, when I live in the heart of the South, and oddly enough, I haven't had that many. No one said anything about the nails, the eyebrows, because they're well plucked. But be yourself. It's like, who cares? I've got my diva eyebrows. We're going back to the divas. I've got my diva eyebrows. They're not Joan
Girl,
Crawford, but
girl, I noticed the arch, okay?
exactly. I mean, who cares? You know what? They survived the 40s, not my
Well,
40s, but that
my
was the
mom
thing. Those eyebrows. It's like,
my mom gave me the best advice about getting older and getting gray. She said, that is not a bad thing. She goes, these are my trophies. She said, every one of these gray hairs means I survived. And I'm like, okay, mom.
yeah. So it's like I've got one gray hair in my mustache and it's driving me crazy. You can't see it, but
That's okay. I just
one.
noticed that I look like Hitler.
Okay, I didn't notice it either until you said that. So you're gonna have to like darken the whole
I know.
thing or just whiten the whole thing. So
I'm sitting here while you're talking. I'm like, bitch, you look like Hitler. What's going on? All right. Well, final question. What's a piece of
okay.
LGBTQ plus literature, called culture, music, film, art, or history that never fails to inspire you?
Mm, I would have I would have to say like music
Mm. Hmm.
because just some of the songs people write them because there's something that they're going through,
Hmm.
and it's a different version of a poem that they put out there for the world that can be inspiring or, you know, give you strength to go forward. So there's one of those new country songs that I'm like love listening to, and it's F around and find out. And I just love it because it is. Go ahead. More geared towards, straight people, but it definitely resonates with the gay people. It's like, go ahead, mess around with me and find out where exactly you're going to be.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I love listening to that song on repeat, and I'm like, they're gonna be so shocked that I actually listen to country music, but I do. Big old girl listens to country music. Give me a cowboy, and I will be
Hey,
a happy
well, yeah,
camper.
yeah, yeah, right, right. The girl knows how to ride a cowboy. Okay,
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. That's a
that's right.
country song, and I love it.
All right. Well, you made it through our list. Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
So, what's going on with you, kitten? What do we got cooking? Do you have any, live events or anything coming up? Readings, meetups, and where's the best place for people to follow you to keep up with what you're doing?
All right. So the best place to follow is my website. So it's rodneyrhodataylor.com. Facebook, which is the same thing, rodneyrhodataylor.com. Next up is I'm going to the Saints and Sinners
Oh,
LGBTQ Book
lovely.
Fest in New Orleans. So I'm reading the book there. Then I am going to the USC Book Fair. It's actually the LA Times Festival of Book, and that's in April. And I'm actually going with Richard Sargent, who you guys have had last year because of we're friends. So we have a little booth together there. So he's his cookbooks. And I was invited to one of his scary movie night dinners. So
So
um,
is that UC book? Is it a public event or do you buy
yeah,
tickets or?
no, it's the largest book fair in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So we went there last year and it picks up the entire campus right there. It's huge. Lots of people go to it and stuff. So
Hmm.
we'll be there in a little booth and a lot of other people as well. So
I
those
may
are
just have to
the
hop in
next
my
things that
little
happen.
car and drive up there.
We'll be there. We're in the purple section. That's Rich sent me all that information this week. So
Well, of course, because you're part of the Violet Quill gang, you know?
exactly. So
All
that's
right.
what's up next for me.
Oh, good to know. Okay. And then people can follow you on your website and your socials, which we will have the
Yes.
links all on our website for people to go follow you there. So, you know, is after all this conversation, what final words of wisdom do you have for our listeners and viewers?
I would believe in yourself and just do what makes you happy because no one else is paying your bills. And if you want to get your nails painted, do it. If you want to wear heels in public, do it. Just don't do it in New Orleans because the streets are not level. And there's always a pothole that is going to reach out and grab you and probably twist your ankle. And I
Mm,
know that from
mm,
experience.
mm-hmm. So okay, everybody. Well, definitely pick up the book. Definitely check it out because it sounds like a wonderful, wonderful way to connect with all of those things that we all go through in life. In even if it isn't exactly to how you've lived your life, believe me, the threads are there that you're going to recognize a lot of things that will resonate. So definitely pick that book up. And we'd like to thank our guest, Rodney Rhoda Taylor, for being here on Written in the Edge. Rodney, thank you so much for taking time out
You're
to talk
welcome.
to
It
us.
was fun. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Well, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer artists and content creators. If you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like, subscribe so you get the alerts for all new episodes. The show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.ropepodcast.com. And tune in next week for your queer media fix. Bye now.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.